afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Portland Fire Department raising alarm over significant increase in prank calls to the department. Former employees of the Savannah Lamar Hospital demand outstanding salaries. And later in sports, Windies women defeat Bangladesh in World Cup qualifier. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry-Ann Simpson. Here are the details. Former workers at the Savannah Lamar Hospital are claiming that the health entity has not paid them for 4 years. The workers are now demanding that the monies be paid or they will continue protest action outside the facility. O'Shane Masters has this story.
We want our money. Time has come.
The claim this afternoon by some former employees of the Savannah Lamar Hospital. They took their plight to the streets yesterday. The workers contend they have been waiting for several years to get monies owed to them. Retired hospital attendant and former union delegate Altina Dunn says they are still owed for the 4-year period 2010 to 2014.
The union have wrote to the management within this institution from the 31st of October 2024. Since that letter was wrote to them, they have not the common decency to make an answer back to the union or to the people. It's been going over 5 months into 6 months, and no word is coming from them as to when these outstanding years will be paid over.
Mr. Dunn says some hospital attendants and drivers who are impacted took strike action in 2016, and a meeting was held with Jalga representatives on September 23 that year. The discussions included the non-payment of supper and a taxi allowance when they work overtime. Circular number 22 from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, dated September 15, 2015, was presented, and it was established that they were indeed entitled to the allowances effective April 1, 2015. Consequently, the payment was implemented and paid retroactively from April 1, 2015. Now, no agreement was made for payment prior to 2015. However, Mr. Altina Dunn continues his quest to have these payments made.
We need to understand that these money need to be paid over, and paid over in short order. It's been dragging in the mouth too long now. Too long now. This has been a sore point within the institution of Savannah Hospital. The management style is most undesirable. We are fed up. We are very much disheartened. We have worked our back off in this institution, and it is time has come now where they need to pay up these outstanding years that is owed to the workers.
The Westmoreland Health Services Human Resource Department says it is currently in dialogue with a representative from Jalgo regarding documentation to substantiate the claims. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The Portland Public Health Department is reporting continuous challenges with food handling establishments. Details in this report. Chief Public Health Officer of the Portland Public Health Department, Lorenzo Hume, says the department is having a serious challenge with food handling establishments. He raised the issue at the recent sitting of the Portland Municipal Corporation monthly meeting.
It has become a trend for a number of persons just to start erecting tents, and doing all kinds of things and food handling. And food, you know, Mr. Chair, is very important, and we have to be monitoring them carefully.
He revealed that several food establishments have been ordered closed.
4 food handling establishments in the castle here, and we continue to prosecute vendors. We are prosecuting a vendor along the foreshore here. We are closing in November because of the sanitary status of the facility where he's supposed to be preparing from his home, because he's doing jerk. And then when we check his home facility where he should have a proper facility, that was not in place. We have been dialoguing with him over the years, and over the last year, we find it increasingly difficult to accommodate him. We served him notice and closed him down in November. He started to come out on weekends when we believe that we are off duty.
He urged the councillors who were present to direct their constituents to the Public Health Department prior to erecting food establishments. In the meantime, this warning to unruly vendors.
Let me remind all that the Public Health Department is an essential service and it's never off duty.
Still in Portland, the fire department is raising an alarm over the significant increase in prank calls to the department. The Portland Fire Department says prank calls have increased by more than 500% since the start of the year when compared to the same period last year. That revelation from Assistant Superintendent of the Portland Fire Department, Wade McDermott. He was speaking at the recent Municipal Corporation monthly meeting.
When we look at the data compared to last year, March 2024, we are seeing a 900% increase in malicious false alarms. So this is a main area of concern for us.
He says this poses a serious problem for the department.
Malicious false alarms, it takes away the limited resources we have. It puts a strain on the physical resources, it puts a strain on the human resources. But not that also, it put our lives and our property at risk when we don't have a unit to respond to an incident when there's a false alarm.
It is why the various stakeholders have been brought in.
What we have done so far, we have reached out to the police and we'll be reaching out to the telephone providers to see how best we can treat this area, to see if we can bring the perpetrators to books.
In the meantime, he says there has been a notable reduction in other areas.
Special service calls, there's a reduction, 70% reduction. We had 6 last year, and this year we had 5. Bushfire calls, we had 14 last year, we had 4 this year, so there's a reduction of 72%. Rubbish fires, we had a reduction of 56% compared to last year.
Member of Parliament for St. Catharines Southern Fitz Jackson is calling on the local authority to address the issue of unoccupied lots contributing to a spike in bushfires in a section of Hellshire Portmore. During a recent visit to the Sandhills Bay and Sandhills Vista, the MP stressed that the issue was putting homes and lives at risk. He says he will be speaking to the Municipal Corporation and the Urban Development Corporation, which developed the 2 housing schemes.
By law, as I recall, the municipality can put a caveat on the property for failures or breaches that the owners might be guilty of. Many of these owners, private owners, live abroad. And the question of being able to locate them in a timely way to cause them to do what they ought to do.
Firefighters have responded to 95 bushfires alone over a 4-day period for more than a week ago. 2 people were shot, 1 fatally, at a bar in Main District, St. Elizabeth last night. The deceased has been identified as 29-year-old Letitia Green, otherwise called Lati. Reports are that about 9:40 p.m., Miss Green and a man were sitting outside a bar she owned when a lone gunman approached them and opened fire. She was fatally wounded while the man was shot and injured. He underwent surgery and is said to be recuperating. The St. Elizabeth police are investigating. The Prime Minister is sending a clear message to persons who obtain development lands for a specific purpose but fail to fulfill their obligations. Dr. Andrew Holness was speaking at Wednesday's contract signing and groundbreaking ceremony for the Raintree Commercial Complex in St. Catherine.
It is not the intention of government to transfer lands to people for them to become land banks, meaning for them to gain from the capital appreciation in the value of the land and do nothing with it. That's not what this is about. And I want to be clear to the people who have purchased or who intend to purchase that there is a performance clause in the sale agreement that if you do not do what you proposed in the sale, when you purchased the land, then you would have violated that clause, and the land would then return to the UDC at the sale price. I want to be very clear on that. This is not a speculative activity. If you intend to speculate, don't come here.
Now, the complex is being undertaken by the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, to the tune of $3.8 billion. It's expected to attract some 5,000 permanent jobs in several sectors, including logistics and manufacturing. It's now time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The Bank of Jamaica says it received 197 offers valued at $17.7 billion for the $8 billion it wanted to take out of circulation with its latest certificate of deposit. This was in order to reduce the amount of money available to buy the US dollar and to drive up inflation. The bank, however, said it accepted only 126 offers for the $8 billion at an average interest rate of 5.56%. The lowest rate was 5.3% for $500 million, while the highest rate was 7% per annum for $250 million. Further afield, Americans lost $470 million to text message scams last year. That's according to new data from the Federal Trade Commission, FTC. The most commonly reported scams involved fake package delivery, bogus job opportunities, and wrong number scams. Fake fraud alerts were also sent warning people about suspicious purchases, issues with their bank, or links to pay fake unpaid tolls. For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top stories from around the world. In the region, Anguilla has become the first Caribbean country to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Caribbean Examination Council that has developed a regional policy framework to help guide governments in creating and strengthening their own strategies on artificial intelligence in education. The MOU was signed at a CXC news conference on Tuesday. CXC has noted that an estimated 70% of its member states lack a formal policy on artificial intelligence, is urging countries to sign the MOU to promote policy consistency across the region. On the international scene, Harvard is losing more government funding. The Department of Homeland Security announced the cancellation of 2 grants worth more than $2.7 million. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem also wrote a scathing letter demanding records of international students' illegal activities. The Trump administration has already blocked more than $2 billion in funding. The institution is pushing back, citing the constitutional right of private universities to determine their own practices. President Trump in recent days raised the idea of punishing Harvard for not complying with what the administration has sought to portray as a campaign to fight anti-Semitism. And those are the top stories from around the world. We now head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report.